Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, friends and family from around the world, to the Energetic Life Now show. I am your host, Eric Stenlick. We are so honored that you have spent the time to be with us here, whether this is your first time, you're on live, you're catching the replay. We just want to send and extend a very, very warm welcome to you and blessings to you and your family. The Energetic Life Now show is being shown on the Spanglish World and her networks on Zingu TV's channel 250 and 251. Now, when you download the Zingo TV app, which is free, of course, please leave a rate and comment. We would love to see that and appreciate that from you all. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Ladies and gentlemen from around the world, let's put our Energetic Life Now hands together for the very, very special guest we have on today. You know how I roll. I bring the best of the best, and that is not a lie, because tonight, color coordinated, we have in the house retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Tina Parker. Welcome, Tina. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Eric, and all your listeners. Thank you so much for having me on. This is fantastic. I can't wait to see what we get into tonight.
Oh, we're going to get into all kinds of fun tonight for sure. So, Tina, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background. We just heard that you are retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. Like, that is fantabulous all in itself. So we got to know, inquiring like minds like ours, we got to know the story behind the story here of Miss Tina Parker.
Sure. So yes, I did spend 23 years in the Air Force, 7 active duty, 16, if I did my math right, part-time reserve. And just, a lot of people ask me, like, why did you go into the military? What was that all about? I was actually born into it, right? My father served, both my grandfathers served. But what's really interesting is I never even thought about it. Like, I was literally halfway through college when I went, wonder what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Right? We all get to that point in our life where we go, well, now what? And I literally just thought, well, I'll give it a try. I'll see what it's like. And if I like it, cool. And what I found is that it challenged me in ways that I probably wouldn't have challenged myself on my own. Right. And I really loved it. And the opportunities that I had and the amazing people that I got to work with throughout my career, it's just really shaped where I am now. And it's been fantastic. And leading me to people like you through our neuroencoding communities and continuing to serve beyond the uniform.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit, because you said you're retired, right? And are you still in reserves, or have you moved past that?
I have, yeah. So after 23 years, I said, you know what? What's my calling? I mean, I've
Mm.
always felt like I've lived my calling in some form or fashion, but I got to a point where I said, okay, I could still continue on. I could go move up the ranks, and right, that was the path. And I really just sat with myself and I said, what is it that I want to bring to the world? I was feeling a pull and a calling to something, I wouldn't say greater, right? A lot of people say a calling to something greater. I didn't feel like it was something greater. It was just something different, and a way to bring the experiences that I've had throughout my life with leading a team of 70 all male drill sergeants, right? As a young little captain, right? You can see me. I was like, what am I doing here? And all the way to my last couple of years in the Air Force, working with the Air Force Innovation Catalyst AFWorks, right? We were charged with doing things differently, breaking outside the box, right? And Fast Company even recognized us as a world best for innovators. And we were like, we're government, right? Like, you know that this is what you like. And so, because it just didn't seem like it made sense, but it absolutely made sense, because we brought all of these brilliant minds to the table and created a space for everybody to share their ideas and really just throw crazy ideas out there and play on it, right? And so that's really where my company now, Lead Outside the Lines, came from. Because it's really about, how do you show up as a powerful leader in your own authenticity, which for me was not always easy, right? In an environment that's very heavily male dominated. And I was a college cheerleader, became military officer, right? So you're like oil and water, like what is this? But I realized though through my career that the times when I shined the best and other people on my team did was when we created space for everyone to show up as their true authentic self and bring their gifts. And so that is, I knew, I was like, that's my path, is to create opportunity and space for others to trust themselves to do the same.
Wow. Oh, that's great. I love it. I love it. And it's so funny and how ironic it is. Like we would be knee deep in something and then all of a sudden decide, is this what I want to be doing with the rest of my life? And so
Mhm.
where do my passions lie? And beginning to explore that space and and holding options open and available for us to kind of explore and say, well, what what can I do next? I've got all of this background and knowledge. How can I best use it? How can I best serve? And for you, then now taking this into leading outside the lines, I'd love for our listeners to know a little bit more about that. Like that's the name of your company, leading outside the lines. What is it that you're doing with that?
Yeah, I really love the work. So it's speaking, facilitation, coaching. It's working with heart-centered high achievers, right? Who have big dreams and big goals, and they want to make a big impact in the world. But let's face it, it's not always easy to do that without sacrificing our own health, wealth, happiness, well-being along the way, right? And that's one of the things that I really came to understand throughout my career, because there was a time about 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, I guess, where I was the hard charger, right? You check all the boxes, right? And that's what I realized. I was checking all the quote unquote right boxes to be successful by the definition of success, right? And we all have our own definition. But I realized I was successful at work and my personal life was basically falling apart. Right. And that to me was not success. I was like, I cannot show up. I'm the same body. I'm the same person. I'm the same heart showing up in both of these places. But on the personal side, like I literally, when I was 6 months pregnant with my first pregnancy, I lost it at 6 months to stillbirth. And that was a wake up call for me because I just pushed through. I was like, nope, got to get to work, got to get to work. And I knew something was wrong, right? But I didn't listen to myself and it cost me. And then I was pregnant right away after that. And so, of course, the anxiety you can imagine, like, okay, let's make sure this one goes well and everything is good and healthy. And she's 13 now, almost 13, and just giving me a run for my money. But then 6 months after I had her, I had cancer. And literally the universe, God was like, look, lady, you need to get yourself aligned because this is not working. And then about a year and a half later, divorce. So when you look at, like, there's 4 big D's of stressors in people's lives, right? Death, debt, disease, divorce. I got all of them, like in 4 years. And I thought something is out of alignment here. What is happening? And I just went on this crusade really to figure out, how can we as human beings show up in our full capacity and our full power at work, at home, for ourselves, even when nobody else is around, right? The whole person concept is really what led me to where I am now. And so I'm working with high achievers who really, they don't want to sacrifice success. They also can't keep going the way they've been going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Thank you, first of all, for being so vulnerable and open for our listeners. That was your story is absolutely incredible. And just thank you for all that you've done in service, to our country. And gosh, I can't even imagine going through what you've gone through and how you have triumphed and come out the other end. And now being in this space of being able to take that experience or those experiences into what you do as a high achiever coach. I think that is just absolutely magnificent. And thank you for that.
Thank
Um,
you. I mean, but we all have those things,
yeah,
right? Everybody has that story that is unique to them.
yeah,
Right. And I think it's important though for us to talk about that because it's kind of taboo sometimes. If you're like, oh, don't talk about all that stuff. Well, everybody's dealing with it.
yeah,
And when we don't talk about it, we don't create space to really look at it and go, okay, what do I need to change here? And how might I do that? Right. It's not a judgment around it. It's literally, let's observe what's happening. Is that what I want? No, not really. What do I get to shift within myself and how I'm showing up in order to create what I do want? It's that simple.
yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and you know, I love a couple things that you said there about the, especially number one is the taboo end of it, right? We have a hard time as humans showing up in that full authenticity and openness and vulnerability of to say, listen, I'm going through stuff. Because right, we tend to be we want to look Facebook, we want to look like we've got it all together when the reality is we're struggling and we've got things going on and we can put up that facade, but that it doesn't last, it crumbles. And you know, reaching out is actually a form of strength to reach out and get help rather than just taking it, holding it in, and hoping that it's all gonna just go away and it'll all work out. Time will heal all wounds. Well, yeah, that doesn't always work in that space. So,
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Um, I wanted to go back to something really fun here because the listeners know Coach Eric. He's in the space of families and teens and working with kids and whatnot. So I really want to hear, like, what was it like? Give us the behind the scenes. Tina Parker's a young girl growing up in a military family. Like, what was that experience like?
Oh, I wouldn't change it. Honestly, I loved it because I grew up when I was 9, we moved to the Netherlands, right? So we moved overseas. And then when I was 12, we moved to Germany. And my parents stayed there until I was already in college. And so I grew up overseas. And so I really just loved the fact that I got to experience so many things in life. And this brings us though to, like, it's your perspective about things, because I knew other kids and I knew other people who were like, oh, I'm missing out on so much by not being in the States, or this is so hard to move around. Yeah, it was difficult to move around every couple years and have to make new friends. But on the flip side, right, I feel like it helped me to become more adaptable, and it helped me to open up my perspective about the world and to see different ways of being around the world and how people live. And so I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And at the same time, we're all finding our way. Like my daughter, like I said, she's almost 13. I swear she wants to say she's 30, but you know how it goes, right? And we're finding our way when we're younger. And one of the things that I have come to really understand, especially in this work that like you and I do in neuroencoding with coaching and working with families, is that we get conditioned based on experiences that we have growing up about our beliefs about what's right, what's wrong, what's okay for you, what's not, right? And it sometimes can make it difficult for us to really know, who am I really at my core? Like, am I showing up in a certain way because I was told, oh, that's what you're supposed to be doing? Right. And I'm very fortunate that my parents were always like, hey, go figure out what you want to be. Like, it's all good. Right. But I still did have some of that conditioning, like, get a good job, make sure you can pay your bills, right? Don't be the starving artist kind of thing. Right. Which kind of led me to the military. Because when I said, like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know. I knew the way of the military. Whether or not it was the most aligned with me, who knows? But I knew it. I understood that environment and that community, right? And so I think with growing up with families, it's really important for parents to allow their kids to sort of figure things out and be who they are, right? Even if you're like, I really don't get what you're doing right now. but okay, it's who you are and I support you.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, I loved every second of that, because I think I was going back into my childhood and reliving those experiences, right? And you know, my father was a Navy man and a firefighter,
Mhm.
and some things were very cut and dry and um, very tuned in, if you will, on how to do things, how to get things done, and you just keep pushing forward and it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, you just do it anyway and you keep moving and you keep going and so I had a lot of those experiences I think is what shaped my future as a young boy and then getting into the spaces of then exploring like I don't know what I'm doing in life, like where am I, like I got no idea. I was told go to college and do this, get a good job, yada yada. And
Mhm.
up until a few years ago, I thought I was doing pretty darn good until I had this like revelation, this self-realization that I was out of alignment. And you said that earlier. I felt like I
Mhm.
was out of alignment. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And going through this self-discovery process and coming out the other side of like, wait, coaching? Wait, what? I've been teaching leadership and I've been working with educators and I've been doing this whole piece. And yet I didn't realize that really I was coaching.
Mhm.
And so as I started exploring this space, and then it was like, what? And it kind of just opened up all this new opportunity. And I was like,
It's
wow,
exciting.
it's so exciting because it's like, would I have discovered that if I had just put my head down, nose to the grind, if you will, and just kept pushing without picking my head up and looking around and going, am I where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
You know, and and you brought up something a few minutes ago where you talked about really being in that place of understanding and alignment and focus. And I know you and I both are working with adults and families as what's unbalanced. Where is this sense of something's not right within the family unit? Something's not right. We are not getting the results that we should be getting, could be getting, and then beginning to
Want
sit
to be
down
getting.
and want to be getting, and then sit down and begin to dial in what we want.
Mhm.
So in your
Sometimes we think it's too scary though to look at it.
yeah,
Right? We're not sure what we're going to find. Like, I know what's going on over here. Like, I understand how to respond to whatever this is that's happening. Even if I don't like it, there's a familiarity about it.
mm,
Right. But the unknown, like if I do make a change and I really sit down and look at what's going on and I decide, oh no, I do not want what I've been getting, but I don't know what's coming on the other side. Like now I've just taken my future away.
yeah,
Right. And that is an uncomfortable space. And I think when you shared, like, oh, I got discovered this thing about coaching and realized, whoa, this is kind of what I've been doing all along. But that's really the beauty, though, too, of coaches is that that's our job, is to help people really take an honest look at what's going on in a safe space.
yeah.
Right. And I think it's so critical right there is to look at it and then be kind of an observer instead of being all in their stuff, right? Observe it, go, okay, is that really what I want? And when you decide you want to make a change, the coach helps you to craft what that future looks like so you can connect to it. Because when you don't know and you just, okay, I'm just going to jump off the cliff, right? That's scary. Right. And we have this conditioning that's come up throughout our entire lives that goes, your brain goes, no way. I don't know what's on the other side of that. Not doing that.
Yeah.
Right. It's not because it's the best thing or not the best thing for you. It's just that it's unfamiliar. So if you think about it as kids, we didn't care if anything was familiar or not. We were just like, hey, I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to go talk to so and so. I'm going to hang out. Like we just loved life and then explored. Right. And there's this exploration as kids that we lose, this essence of exploration that many of us lose when we get older. And it takes some intentionality to really get back to that space and tune in to what our inner child knows. Your inner child, when you start to feel like, oh, something's out of alignment, something's not right here, pay attention. You're not crazy. You're not out of your mind. Like literally your body is trying to tell you, hey, something's not right here, because your core, who you were as a kid, you know what you need. Yeah. But we get into trouble when we start to push that to the side and don't listen to it.
Yeah, such a great point, and like I said a few minutes ago, growing up with you're going to go to college, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and I didn't question it. It was said, it was done, and I'm going to do what I'm told. And how we started raising our kids like that, and all three of them are doing not anywhere near close to what we said was their path. Because why? It wasn't their path, it was our path for them, and we had to let go of what our expectations were of that and turn into more of that guide or coach, if you will, around what it is that they wanted to do. And you know what? They are all doing fantastic. They're all working. They're all doing what they need to do. They got cars. They got, ways to make living. And they're in that exploration journey. And I'm like, dude, just do it, man. Be you. Go and do it. You're going to have plenty of time to really figure that out and dial it in to something that might be of long term, or maybe it's some couple of short term things. I don't know. It's your journey, not mine. Tell me what you need. I'm here to support you. And it's funny how that just like came about because I challenged myself. I challenged what I grew up thinking and understanding and feeling, and then began to go, wait a minute. Intuition's telling me, like you said, something's not right. Something's off. What's off? And then really, really getting uncomfortable with that so I could become comfortable in taking those steps moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I love that you just said, I got to get uncomfortable first, right? Because that's why so many of us don't take those steps that we know will make a difference for us. And like you said, as coaches, parents are coaches, right? Mm-hmm. We can approach leadership. We can approach parenting. We can approach designing our life from the perspective of a coach, meaning, what is it that I don't know that I might need to know? Like getting generative questions about, what does this look like if it's working really well? And then you start to realize that's not what I'm experiencing right now, but I could, right? And for our kids, it's coaching them to explore, to trust themselves, to design their life path. Because you're right, it is not our path. As much as we might want to go, no, you come over here. This is where you need to be going. They're like, nope. Especially if you got kids like ours, right? That are like, yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Oh, it's so true, right? And we're cracking up as parents because we know we're in it too. With the same as you guys, around the world. Kids are kids, right? Wherever you're gonna go, there's always fun things that they're gonna do and things that they're gonna get into. But I think what changed is, and here's the leadership end of it is really telling our kids, like, you don't need our permission to be you. You are empowered to go through your life and make these decisions. Some of them are going to be right and some of them are going to be wrong. And I'm going to be here to support you either way. I'm not going to be that parent that says, well, I told you so. You shouldn't have been doing that. Right? They needed to experience life. They need to learn about these things through trial and error. That's how we learn, right? And otherwise, I'm going to be that, well, I don't know how many definitions we can come up with here, Tina. Helicopter parent, lawnmower parent, drone parent, snow plow. I mean, fill in the blank, meaning that I'm just going to I'm just going to clear everything out of their path and make life so easy for them. And then when they're like in their mid to upper 20s or 30s, they're going, I don't know how to do life.
Right. I don't know how to figure things out on my own. I don't know how to trust myself to make a good decision.
Yeah.
Right. And you said, I love what you just said, is that they don't need our permission to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They are going to go out in the world. And if we as parents have, and I won't even say held space for them well, right? Because it's not always about us knowing what to do, because my daughter did not come with the handbook that told me how to figure out her stuff, right? And so, I mean, I'm just as much in the trial and error here as the kids are, right? As a parent. But it's in holding space where our kids know, like you said, they are supported. If they do something that doesn't really work out the way they wanted, or then they deem it a mistake, right? This is not a failure in the sense of your life is over, it's never going to be okay. Like, no, the more, and honestly, that's one of the things, like when I said about the AFWorks, the innovation space, I brought some of those tools and techniques home to be with my daughter, right? Because it was so powerful to be able to explore and to realize we actually want to fail faster so we can figure out what doesn't work, right? And failure is a learning opportunity. And that's one of the things that was so powerful for me. And I really try to help my daughter connect to this. And it doesn't always work, right? I mean, nobody's perfect, but I really just try to help her connect to, like, when things aren't going well or something didn't work out, it's like, okay, what did we learn from that? What's your takeaway? Or what's that trying to show you, right? Sometimes failure is a reflection to us that we need to uplevel our skill set, or we need to change our mindset, or we need, like, whatever it is that we need to do, but we miss it. And we keep it's like whack-a-mole, right? You're whacking every time something comes up and you're just hammering. It's like, whoa, stop. Pause for a second. Ask yourself those questions and really look at what's going on. And then choose, right? Pause, notice, and choose instead of just rolling through the whole thing. Because when something's not going well, it's trying to show you. It's trying to show you something. And so I actually think we get to celebrate failure with our kids and with ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that you use the pause,
notice, choose.
Choose. I was thinking of how I teach it. And so this is a fun one for all of our viewers out there, is how I teach is think of your body, the outline of my body, as a remote control. I've got play buttons, I got fast forward, I have rewind, and I have a pause button. And I like the pause button right here over my heart, because sometimes in that space of the heart is where I really need to pause here and notice how I'm feeling about this situation, the relationship, whatever it is that we're going through, that I'm thinking, like, I don't know if this is working out right. Well, what am I feeling? And then getting into that process of is this good? Is this bad? What do I like, dislike? What are my options? And then being able to choose something and move forward. Doesn't mean they're going to get it right. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect with it. They might make another mistake, but then they're going back to that pause again and saying, what did I learn? Right? Because I either win or I learn. I don't lose. Right.
Exactly.
And I love that. And listen, when my kids were younger, I would drive them nuts, Tina. They would be going out to school. Hey, you guys have a good day. I hope you failed today. Like, Dad, who says this to their kids, to go out and fail? Yeah. Right? But it was getting that into their minds that you're going to go out and do you today. Some of it's going to work out and some of it's not. And it's okay both ways, because you're either going to win or you're going to learn from both sides of that. And so be okay with showing up and being all right with, you know what, didn't work out. So what can I do differently next time? How do I change it to get what I want?
And let's celebrate, not did I get it right?
Yes.
But did I listen to my intuition? Did I take a risk and see what happens? And I'm okay with however it turns out, right? We get so attached to the outcomes instead of being attached to, did I try something different? Did I listen to what my body was telling me? Right? Because you're so right. Pausing and listening to our feelings, that's your navigation system. Like, why would you want to fly an airplane with no navigation system and just be like all over the place? That's what we're doing when we're not listening. And the older we get disconnected from the ability to really feel what we're feeling. And there's a lot of reasons that happens, right? And a lot of us have been through trauma and through experiences in life where we're like, yeah, I really just don't want to feel that again, so I'm going to wall myself off.
Yeah.
Well, we're walling ourselves off from all the full spectrum of feeling when we start to shut down. Right. And that's what I just love as children. They haven't done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the time you look at kids and you're like, gosh, I wish I had that spark again. You do.
Yeah.
You've just snuffed it out so many times. It's having a hard time coming back, but it's there.
Yeah, so true. You know, I just had this conversation. It's so funny because I'm in a middle school working in special ed, and I was in a classroom the other day, and one of the kids who was been kind of standoffish a little bit with me. It's taken a while to break through those barriers with her, and she was like, "Mr. S, like, I don't understand how you're in a good mood all the time. How it is that you show up and like I don't get it. Like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, don't you like there's all these people around and they're looking at you?" And I said, you know when I stopped being embarrassed? When I realized that I don't care what other people think about me. And she went, what? And I said, how many times a day do you stop and think, oh, if I do that, who's going to look at me? Who's going to judge me? Who's going to be there and laugh at me? I said, the moment you release that control over yourself is the day you're going to find your peace and your happiness. She was like, what? What? And I'm watching her level up each week, level up. I'm like, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah.
It stays with her.
Yep.
I love it. You're probably in the back of her head, right? When she's like wanting to do something and then gets that whole, oh gosh, what are they going to think? She remembers what you shared with her. Because when you share that with her, I'm sure that created a feeling in her of like, oh, I can go and do whatever it is that I want to do. Right. That is infectious. Yeah. And you're so right. We spend so much time worrying about what other people think. And the reality is we have no idea. Mm-hmm. We have no idea what they think.
No idea.
Right. And there have been so many times. And I remember actually being at work one time and my HR director came to me and she was like, hey, is our boss okay? And I was like, yeah, why? Because I work directly with the boss. And she was like, well, he walked by me this morning and he just like looked down and looked away. Like, is he mad at me? And I went, no, he had a big meeting this morning. I could hear through the wall. It didn't go well. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, all the worry around. And it had nothing to do with her. But we take cues and we think that people are thinking things of us. And even if they do, whatever. That's a reflection of them, not us.
That's right.
Right? That's right. And it keeps us stuck in a box, not them. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to do that to myself. I love that you shared that with her, especially at such a young age. Mm-hmm. Middle school is a hard time.
Lord have mercy.
My hat's off to you, my friend, because middle school is such a tumultuous trying to figure it out in this liminal space. Not a kid anymore fully, not a young adult yet. Like, what am I doing here? Yeah. And just thank you for what you are doing for those students, because it's powerful and the lessons stick with them.
Yeah, and listen, I'm challenging them. I'm all up in their business, and I'm challenging them. Like a kid said to me today, "Oh, Mr. S, somebody said something, and I didn't appreciate that, and that hurt my feeling." And I said, "You know what? I'm going to validate that. It hurt your feeling. I'm sorry that hurt your feeling." And then I said, "Why did that hurt your feeling?" Well, because it wasn't nice. What wasn't nice? That they
Get
said that thing.
specific.
I said, "Is it true?" And they went, "What?" I said, "What they said, is that true?" And I don't know. I said, "Well, do you see yourself as that? What if I called you a moron?" This kid looked at me like, "Did my teacher just call me a moron?" I said, "Yeah. What if I called you a moron?" And he goes, and he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "Is it true?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Do you view yourself as a moron?" I said, "Stay with me on this." And he's like, "What?" And I said, the emotional meaning and attachment you have to that word moron is what you'll get upset with. And so, parents around the world, as you guys are watching this,
It's key.
this is key for your kids because they're like, "Oh, this person's being mean, they're bullying me." Now, listen, those things are there. I get it. Here's what I'm saying: is it true? And challenge that thought, challenge that feeling, and address it as, is that true? Do I believe that about myself to be true?
Right.
If I can challenge that and say, no, that's absolutely not true. I'm not a moron, or I'm not a bad person, or I'm not a jerk, whatever it is that's said, then what do I care?
Exactly.
Let them.
It's
They
not a
want to say
reflection
that.
of
Bill
me.
Robbins says it all the time. Let them. They want to call me that. Okay, thank you. Big
Mm-hmm.
deal. I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
And so this goes back into, I don't care what other people think about me. I don't care what they say about me. I know what I'm doing and what my mission is and what my assignment is and the path that I'm on. And once I can
Exactly.
release all that noise, doesn't matter. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you touched on something really important right there too, the meaning that we give to things. That is what creates the experience we have,
Yeah.
right? Not the actual thing that happened,
Mhm.
right? And I love that you're like, well, he called you a moron. Do you see yourself as a moron? Because I mean, and really, you can flip it the other way too and go, somebody called me a purple frog.
Yeah.
That doesn't even remotely resonate with who I am. So,
Yeah.
okay, thanks. You know, the meaning that we give to it is what creates the experience and the feeling around it. And that those experiences and feelings, that's what stays with us. That's what we hold on to. Right. And it's the same thing when we were talking about success, right? When I said, well, what is my definition of success? Is it success to me that I'm rocking it at work and I'm getting my master's, I'm getting all this stuff, but my health is falling apart, I'm not happy, my family life is not where I want to be? No, that's not successful.
Yeah.
Right? So we get to check ourselves, what are the meanings that we're giving things and the definitions of what we're attaching to certain things, like success or somebody called us something. Right? We are creating our reality based on those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, parents around the world, here's something I want to throw out for you. You come home from work or whatever you're doing, and the house is full of your family at the end of the day, right? What does that word success look like, sound like, and feel like to you?
Mhm.
Right? Been out all day, we're all doing our things. Kids got
Yeah.
sports or whatever, we're running around. Now we're all under one roof. And in my mind, I'm playing all of these looping stories. I really should go work out. I don't like going to the gym. People judge me. They stare at me. I know they're saying things about me. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? If you went and asked every person at the gym that you thought was looking at you, and you asked them, Are you looking at me? Huh? Are you right? They would go, "No, who are you, you creep? Get out of here." Right?
Yeah.
Because it's the judgment, it's the perception, it's the stories that we're telling each other in our minds, that we are creating that situation of like, why I can't go to the gym, as opposed to saying, I am going to go to the gym. I'm going to put my earbuds in. I'm going to get some crank and tunage going, and I'm going to get in there. I'm going to bust out a workout because I know the best version of me is going to be what my family gets, not
Yeah.
the rest of me. when I'm coming home tired and stressed out, worn out. And then the only thing I can do is, sit on the couch or scream at the kids or whatever that case might be. We have to create that opportunities for ourselves as the adults to be the very best versions of ourselves that we can be, so that our kids can see us modeling that, for them to be inspired to take that ownership, to take that empowerment upon themselves, to then be the best versions of them that they can be. It's a trickle-down effect. It's a cascading effect when we choose to take on that role and responsibility of a healthy person, a healthy lifestyle, to be who we were created to be. Okay, I'm preaching now. Woo! Get me fired up, Tina Parker.
It's so good though, but it's true, because we talked about the conditioning, right? Yeah. You're going to have conditioning on your kids no matter what you're doing. It's just the way the world works. So you get to decide.
And what's
how
the choice
is that going to show up?
Yes, what's the choice of conditioning you want to put out there?
Yes, because you're modeling for them. They are going to learn more from just seeing you versus what you tell them. And like, what I would love to share with you too, something about my daughter. A couple of years ago, we were sitting in the living room, and maybe she was like 8 or 9 at this time. And we were sitting in the living room, and literally, like, I'm looking at something. I think I was reading something. And she looks at me, she goes, "Mom, are you mad at me?" So remember, just like the HR director in the hallway with my boss. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, I literally was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, "You look really mad, and I'm the only one in this room. Your face looks really mad." And I was like, "Oh, honey, no. Mommy gets a really bad look on her face when I'm deep in thought." Like, some people call it resting something else face, But so I was like, "Oh gosh, no, honey, I'm so sorry." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's my thinking face." Right. So now she'll call me out. She's like, "Mom, you're wearing your thinking face again." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." So she catches me. Right. But I thought about this later on. I said, what would have happened if she didn't feel comfortable enough to say something to me? And I let my mind kind of go down this life path, right? Of there's this moment that I have absolutely no idea about going on in her head. My mom is mad at me. I've done something wrong. What can I do to have her not be mad anymore? And if she thought every time I had that crazy thinking face look on my face, right, that it was about her, how many times would she have second guessed herself, censored herself, boxed herself in to try to get a different reaction from me, right, without me even knowing what was going on? And it had nothing to do with her, right? And I think I really thought through that, and I said, the space that we create as parents for our kids to feel comfortable saying things that feel uncomfortable to them, that was not a comfortable conversation for her, right? What if I had said, "Yeah, I'm really irritated with you"? Like, that was not going to be a conversation that she'd probably want to have. But she felt comfortable enough to at least ask and validate, verify, hey, what's going on here? And not just make the assumption in her own mind and let it go down the rabbit hole. Right? Because that rabbit hole can lead years down the road to other things, and they manifest in her life about her not showing up fully, right? Her trying to keep herself in a little box so she doesn't upset other people, right? This is how these things play out. And as parents, we get the opportunity to learn the skills to create safe space for our kids to ask these questions and grow and not get stuck in stuff that we're not even aware that we're creating.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So well said. Yeah. So the next time, Tina, that you have thinking mom face,
it's not a good look. Like, you really gotta find a different face.
What does thinking mom face look like? Right?
It's literally, it's like my brow is furrowed. I'm like,
The kids are like tiptoeing, like, "Mom's got the face. Mom's got the face.
Mom's got the face again." I know. And now I'm aware of it, right? Now I'm like, "Ooh, those wrinkles. That's because of that thinking face thing."
Right?
So,
oh, it's hysterical.
Thankful for her for bringing it up.
Well, yeah, and I love that you've created that space of safety, of that she can talk to you like that as opposed to
the most important
just
person.
seeing, like you're saying, seeing that and running the other direction and never having that confidence to ask you, to talk about it, to understand your point of view for her understanding.
Mhm.
And I think that's what happens a lot so much in life is we're only coming from our perspectives. We're only coming from what we see, the lens that we're looking at life through,
Mhm.
rather than getting to understand and know what the other person has going on in their life and what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
Yep.
And that's where, when these perceptions come in, right, we're circle back to what we've been saying is then I give it meaning. Why is that person angry with me? What have I done? I'm such a horrible person. Why are they mad? They're a horrible person, right? And then, man, all day long, all of that is looping around in my mind rather than letting me just, hey, I'm kind of sensing that you might be upset or anything. Is everything okay? Or are you just deep in thought?
Right. Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then creating the non-judgmental space for whoever that is to share with you what's really going on.
Yep. Yep.
Right. And I think this is so pivotal too, because how many times in our family relationships and relationships at work, like whatever relationships that we have, we've gotten to a point where we slowly just get further and further apart until one day we go, I don't actually even know why we don't talk anymore, but it's very uncomfortable. Well, it might have started with they had a thinking face and you made a meaning about it. And over time, that divide just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. So if we can recognize how to be humans together in every space and every time, we don't have to get into those divides anymore.
Yeah. Well, and it becomes an emotional disconnection then within the family
Exactly.
unit.
Yeah.
It becomes we're accustomed to not speaking about or
That
not
becomes the norm, the familiar.
that becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And so we definitely don't want that to happen and to
No.
course correct it as we may. So, Tina, can you remind our listeners around the world, and thanks you guys again for tuning in. Absolutely amazing to have you guys all here. Where can people find you on social media, websites, all that good fun?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is leadoutside-the-lines.com. You can find me there. I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook as Tina Parker or TP Sunshine, right? That's the handle. You can find me on TP Sunshine. And I'd love to connect with any of your listeners. It's so amazing, Eric, for you to have this platform to bring this information to folks. And I just thank you so much for having me on and for the work that you are doing in the world, my friend.
Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you for hopping on here with me, because it's always a blast to sit down and chat with you. You're a wonderful, wonderful human, and thank you for the good that you are bringing to this world. And
Thank you,
just
Eric. Same to
really
you,
appreciate
my friend. It's so wonderful.
it. Yeah. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in around the world. It's just so amazing that you guys are here with us. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check it out at spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. We'll see you soon.